Live from the Shoebox Studios of Woodstock Public Access Television, which is available on Channel 23 on your Time Warner Cable Scumbox, Channel 20.2 on your digital TV's cable tuna fish, or anywhere in the world on the World Wide Web at woodstocktv.org via Ustream. It's now time for Further Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's Paula Gloria.
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole because we like to go into topics more deep. The topic that we want to go into more deeply tonight is the topic of smart meters and dumb people. We want to make that dumb meters and smart people, and we want to learn what's the difference. So who's going to be joining me is Steve Romine from the Truth Squad. Thank you, Steve, for joining me on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Paula.
I admire so much of your work. You've really taken that plunge to be off the grid until you can get back on the grid, but with your rights.
Yeah.
So,
actually, I don't think I really want to get back on the grid.
Oh, we'll
like
talk about that. Well, Joe Barton, my husband. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I'm a regular here on Paula's show, and I thought we were gonna let's start with
Oh,
this.
you want to start with
Because
this?
this is a short one, and
Oh,
then
okay.
we'll spend more time on his
Oh,
smart meter
okay,
stuff.
great. Well,
We'll
but
do
it's
it quickie.
actually quite related. I know you were surprised about it. Okay, no shooting at protest. Police may block mobile devices via Apple. Apple has patented a piece of technology which would allow government and police to block transmissions of information, including video and photographs, from any public gathering or venue they deem sensitive and protected from externalities. In other words, these powers will have control over what can and cannot be documented on wireless devices during any public event. And while the company says the affected sites are to be mostly cinemas, theaters, concert grounds, and similar locations, Apple Inc. also says covert police or government operations may require complete knockout conditions. Who's being knocked out, though? The people, or who's supposed to minister to the people? Okay, that's my thing. Additionally, Apple says the wireless transmission of sensitive information to a remote source is one example of a threat to security. This sensitive information could be anything from classified government information to questions or answers to examination submitted in an academic setting. Wow. So you can see how important it is that that NYU doesn't take over the free speech of public access in Manhattan, to make this relative to a more local audience. But you know that Apple is going all over the world. Okay, so the statement may seem to believe. The statement led many to believe that authorities and police could now use the patented feature during protests or rallies to block the transmission of video footage and photographs from the scene, including those of police brutality, which at times of major events immediately flood news networks and video websites. That's the whole point of a protest, is to be able to assemble freely, and that you could have all aspects of that assembly brought to every part of society. They should know what's going on. So if they don't know what's going on, it means they aren't assembling freely. They're assembling, under a lot of duress, which means other people will be less inclined to want to assemble if they're going to be beat up. So you certainly need to have these pieces of information shared. Okay, which at times of major events immediately flood news networks. Apple patented the means to transmit an encoded signal to all wireless devices, commanding them to disable recording functions. This is something I've suspected even on my little video camera, and I know that all meters, all new appliances are smart appliances, so really smart meters could be smart appliances too. And that's what I mean about dumb people. Don't be dumb about your rights. Those policies would be activated by GPS and Wi-Fi or mobile-based stations, which would ring reference geofence around a building or a sensitive area to prevent phone calls from taking pictures or recording video. Apple may implement the technology, but it would not be Apple's decision to activate the feature. It would be down governments. That's really what it says. It says it would be down governments, businesses, and network owners to set such policies, analyzes ZDNet technology website. In other words, that's a PR agency that corporations go to. They're eager to use this technology to further rip off the people. So they go to a PR agency and say, how do we get away with it? And the PR agency says, really easy. You call this corporation Apple, and you call this one the corporation under the District of Columbia, and get people to believe that that District of Columbia one is somehow overseeing to make sure that the other corporation that's only there for commercial interests doesn't figure it out. So there are very deep lawful remedies against the scariness if you're only believing that we only have access to laws that are applicable to administrators within a corporation, and a corporation specifically that was hired to make us feel more secure, not more insecure. So we should definitely wrest this technology back in the hands of the people, I think. Having invented one of the most sophisticated Apple mobile devices, Apple now appears to be looking for ways to restrict its use. As wireless devices such as cellular phones, pagers, personal media devices, and smartphones become ubiquitous, more and more people are carrying these devices in various social and professional settings. It explains in the patent. The result is that these wireless devices can often annoy, frustrate, and even threaten people in sensitive venues, like judges, prosecutors. People are not telling the truth, who have something to hide, because you can certainly see with body language a lot of aspects of the swindle that you can't see when the same swindle is sort of layered through different websites and manipulation of search engines, so that you can't find the responsible parties, responsible for the crimes against humanity. And that's truly what it can escalate to. Because if people don't have the ability to share knowledge freely, that society is going to fall into fraud. One of the first things about fraud is when you tell people about it, they go, ooh, they don't want to know about these things. So people, the tendency will want to watch distractions. But after a while, you really do need to figure out what's going on. So the company listed sensitive venues so far include mostly meetings, the presentations of movies, religious ceremonies, weddings, funerals, academic lectures, and test-taking environments. I mean, doesn't that make you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, let me jump in on this one now. This technology, like when the young people were protesting at the Occupy Wall Street thing, and they took all those pictures of the cops spraying them, macing them, of the cops beating them up, and it got instantly put up on the internet. It got put up right away, and people saw the police acting in a criminal manner. Now the police now have a device that they can shut down all these cell phones. So the police can now act as criminals, and nobody can record it. If you and I tried to do that, if we were acting as criminals and someone was taking pictures and we destroyed that picture or that tape, we would be charged with destroying evidence of a crime. Now the police have the technology where when the police are committing a crime, the police
Can destroy the evidence.
can destroy the evidence so it never comes into court against them. This is outrageous. If you people out there at this point in time aren't going to do something to take a stand, then the police, the courts, the government can act in any criminal manner they want, and the people have no choice but to put up with it. This basically is saying you are slaves, and we can beat you whenever we want. We can destroy any evidence of the crimes that we've committed and keep it from ever being used against us. Now, the police were supposed to be there to protect the rights of the people. This technology makes it so the police can violate your rights with impunity and not have to fear that it's going to show up in court. This is outrageous, and I'd like to pass that over to Steve. What do you think about this new technology,
This
Steve?
is unbelievable. I can hardly believe it. Say that again?
You learned it here on public
I
access.
learned this here tonight on public access on Joe and Paula's show for the first time. I mean, I'm up on a lot of this stuff, and I haven't heard this. This is like
Smart meters, dumb people.
an
Knowledge can
unbelievable
be.
development in technology to enslave the people and allow the ruling authorities to not to be accountable when they're doing stuff. They can't be held accountable because they can knock out any recording. This is unbelievable. People need to be upset about this.
Yeah, and if
But there's remedies. They're not doing it lawfully.
yeah, and let's say that you go to a public hearing where a bunch of politicians are talking and they're making a scheme and it becomes obvious and you're taping what they're saying because you want to show it to people that the politicians have just decided to do this criminal thing. They can destroy your tape so you can't prove what was just said. And they can put it in courthouses. So let's say you're lucky enough to be able to smuggle a tape recorder in or a camera into the court. They can now put stuff in the courthouses so that nobody can record. So if you wanted to appeal anything that's done in court, you get the transcripts from them, which are altered. I can tell you that because I've fought them many times in court, and whenever I've gotten transcripts, the transcripts were always altered.
Wow.
There were always deletions in the transcripts. So you can't appeal a deletion if it's not there. You can't appeal something when it's been altered. So all you people out there should be standing up for the right of people to bring cameras into the courts, bring tape recorders into the courts, because why should they only have the records when it's obvious right now, if they've got to do all this to keep the truth from the people, that they have something to hide. So you people out there...
And that it's not to your advantage to not know what they're trying to hide from you. The sooner you know what's trying to be hidden,
Yeah,
the safer you are. The cameras are your safety.
All right, all you people out there, like Steve said in his earlier show, which we were watching, all you people out there got to pick something, whether it's 9/11 truth, whether it's the marijuana prisoners, whether it's throw in some more here, Steve.
Smart meters,
Yes.
chemtrails, GMO.
There was the Dallas
name it.
Buyers
Right.
Club, about the pharmaceutical companies,
Yeah.
the blocking of the right vitamins, and
Right,
or just freedom. It all boils.
War, anti-war, very
Yeah.
important.
right. All you people out there, pick something and get involved, And like I've said on many of my shows, we need people like, there's good FBI, I've said it before, there's good FBI who go up, who believe in the Constitution and try to go by the Constitution, and then there's bad FBI that are doing real criminal stuff. We got good CIA who believe in the Constitution, and we got bad CIA who are doing all this black ops stuff. It's time for the good CIAs people, you got the law on your side. Go after the bad CIA people. It's time for the good FBI people, because you have the law on your side. Go after the bad FBI. If everybody out there, on whatever level you are, if you're up in government in a high place, do the right thing. If you're just a little secretary or a court clerk, and you know that what's going on in the court is actually criminal, then speak up. We need more whistleblowers in this country. We need more people to take a stand on all levels, from the top to the bottom, and only the people can bring about the change that we need. I'll turn it over to you on smart meters, Steve.
Well, I want to agree with everything Joe just said. I want to agree with everything Joe just said. That's so important. I mean, that's definitely a main focus here at the shows that we do here, whether it be Steal This Channel with Randy Steele, or further down the rabbit hole, or Pot Talk, or Natural Mystic. We need people to get active, and it's very important, because there's a principle, there's a legal principle, and it's called implied consent. And when you don't oppose something, you've just given them your consent. They sit around at these tables 24/7 with their high-paid executives, and they're working on strategies. Let's try this, because we'll see if they'll oppose it. If they don't oppose it, we've got it. You know, it's up to us to oppose it. And that's what we all need to learn. We have to oppose it. We can't trust them, because they don't care about us. They only care about money. That's their God. Their God is money. Everybody here at this station and on the shows that you've been watching, none of us make any money here. We're doing this out of love of free speech and freedom and liberty and justice, and that's what we're about. They're about money, and we're about the values in the Constitution. So please speak up and get active.
Yeah, and I'd like to get Steve to bring us up to all the latest on the smart meter, since Steve's our authority on the smart meter thing, and we support Steve on his battle with the smart meters, and you people should know what these smart meters are about. Why don't you?
Yeah, I'll give you a little, basically what's happened. The latest is that the county has passed the resolution 315.
Ulster County.
Ulster County has passed resolution 315 that adopted this. It's a resolution that the county adopted and passed unanimously on one of the last snowstorms. Half the legislators didn't show up, and the half that did show up all voted for it. So the only ones that came out were for it, you know, and the ones that were against it didn't feel like braving the storm. So, but every one of those legislators got a copy of the movie Take Back Your Power. Went to every legislator.
All right.
And so I think that helped. And they passed it, and what it says is that it urges the state, where there are two bills pending in the committee and have been pending for a while, that would give us all an opt-out in the state of New York to not have a smart meter. And the bill, this is really, really good. The bill these two bills in the state are no fee. There's no fee. There's no cost to opt out like there is in other states. And there is an amendment in our resolution, which we helped draw up, by the way. We sat in committee with the legislators and offered them ideas. There was 4 of us. It was Raji, myself.
Why do you have to opt out?
We want to, because we do not want a smart meter on our house. So the opt-out is to opt out. Actually, it's actually a trick in a way, because what we're doing, and you know, we wanted a ban. That's what we wanted. We wanted a complete ban, but we couldn't get any headway with the ban, because the legislators seemed to think it was very important to protect the money-making ability of the power companies. We don't want to infringe their ability to make money. And so they said, but we will go with an opt-out. And so basically our argument, my argument with the rest of the core of our group, was that, and Raji too, Raji and I both wanted the ban, was that if you give them an opt-out, if you agree to an opt-out, you're basically giving them permission to put on everybody else's house. So it's really up to everybody to speak up. If the opt-out gets, if the state law gets passed giving us an opt-out, everybody has to speak up and say, no, we don't want a smart meter. So it's going to be a whole big campaign if it passes, going around the community trying to convince everybody not to have a smart meter.
And tell them why we don't want them.
Well, we don't want the smart meters because we don't want to be microwaved, and that's number one. Microwave is a technology that's used in weapons, and not, you know, that microwave has effects at very low levels, and it's the pulsing of the microwave that does the harm to the biological systems in the body. It's the density.
And
You
they
know,
can make lethal pulsations.
yeah.
Whoever controls the meter.
Exactly.
So
Now,
why-
they
yeah.
have been referred to, some of the things they call them as cancer meters. Another one they call them is murder meters. And another one they call them is armed spy devices. And they have all of those abilities. I mean, just think. I mean, there's been
They
over
can even cook you.
there's
even
there's
cook
over
you.
that's what I was just about to say. They have over 1,000 homes in the United States have burned down from the installation of smart meters right after they were installed. And one of the ways that one of the whistleblowers of PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, you can look him up on YouTube and look up ex-meter reader whistleblower, ex-smart meter reader whistleblower, described that the ignition happens when you get your power turned off, and then you pay your bill to get it turned back on. And so they remotely control, turn your power back on. It ignites your house on fire when it gets turned back on. It has some defect in it. But there's a technology there, a system that houses could be caught on fire remotely.
You know what that burning thing might be? It might be some kind of way that the old jurisdiction, like when they turn back on, and then they turn it off and they turn it back on again, because you've gone through some discussion with them about whether you wanted it or not. Why was it off and why would it be on?
Well,
Just
Paula,
when it's got switched?
If it's microwaves, we cook stuff in an oven, microwave.
yeah.
If you cook it too long, you burn it. If you keep cooking it, it will catch fire. So these smart meters, if they're pumping out too much microwaves,
He said just when they turn it on, though.
all
When they
right,
turn it on
when they
and off.
turn it on, if the setting is high, there's enough microwaves to set your house on fire.
Well, here's the thing. It can, you know, because it can be controlled remotely, that's the first thing. Whatever function, the different functions, it can be controlled remotely. That's scary right there.
Because anywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary. They could be anywhere in the world and control something in your house, whether it be to destroy your house, whether it to be spy on
Not
you,
that
whether it
Jeremy
be to
Wilbur's
microwave
office
you.
isn't enough
Here's
danger.
this device that they have, that they can affect your life in one way or another remotely. And this is like ridiculous. All they're supposed to do is be measuring electricity. That's all they're supposed to be doing, not all this other stuff. Now, I wanted to tell everyone that, so this has happened. We did get the resolution passed. It was a compromise. We didn't get the ban that we wanted, but we have an opt-out. So we can opt out if it passes in state, on the state level, and we won't have to have a smart meter on our house. But if all your neighbors have smart meters around you, it's not going to help you because you can still be microwaved. But the point is we will have to educate everybody to to opt out and not accept a smart meter. I think we have a good chance of doing that in Woodstock. But one thing I do want to say before I lose track is we had a situation here in Woodstock where a well-known person in Woodstock, actually, I guess it was in the newspaper. It was Kevin O'Brien and Mio Thurman. Mio Thurman is Uma Thurman's first cousin. And they are clients of mine. I do lawn mowing for them and snow plowing. And they had told me that the electric company was out there wanting to put a smart meter on the house. And she said, I don't want a smart meter on my house when she went out to see what was going on. And they tried to convince her to take it, and she wouldn't take it. So she said, you know what, I want you off my property. So she kicked them off the property. And so then they said, well, we'll be back. And she was very afraid, so I happened to be working there that day, and I suggested building a cage around her analog meter. I built a heavy-duty cage made out of plank, thick plank, and I used a big, thick motorcycle lock with a heavy-duty hasp and a window so they could read their meter, but they couldn't take the meter off. And they came back a few weeks later, and they saw the cage, and then they went back again, and they came back with the state police. And the state police walked up and knocked on the...
State police, like the troopers, the cops on the highway?
Yeah. So they came with the state police, one guy in full uniform, and he knocked on the door, and Kevin said to him, what do you want? And he said, well, we want access to the meter. They want to install a new meter here. And he said, we don't want a smart meter on our house. And they said, well, you have to have it. He says, wait a minute, don't I have any options here? And they said, the only options you have is to give us the keys to open that cage or go to jail. Now, if it was Paula or myself or Joe, we would have said, what's the charge?
Right.
There is no charge.
There
There is no law that says you have to have a smart meter. There's no law that says it's voluntary, believe it or not.
God never said let
do
there
you
be
have a
light and
warrant to be
smart
on my
meters.
property?
Yeah, you have a warrant or a court order.
Right.
So, but he's not up on all this stuff, and he was worried about his two kids that were watching the whole thing, the kids, and
But you see how the technology applies to everything?
yeah.
Everything can be shut off and on. I
Yeah.
had some amazing footage
So-
at M&N.
So
off
then
the street that
he
got
said,
shut.
okay, and he went to get the key, which I had left in a box in his shed, and he was hoping it was still there. And he walked to the shed, and the state police followed him with his hand on his gun behind him the whole way. Walked to the shed and back to the meter behind him with the gun, hand on his gun. And if this isn't fascism, nothing is. So anyway, he opened it up, and they put the smart meter on, and smart digital meter, one-way communicator, but an ERT meter. It's a smart meter with an ERT module. Just remember that, folks. They're all smart meters if they're digital.
The best part of your story, I thought, was when they called up about the troopers coming, there was no record.
Okay, yeah. So
That's
then,
horrifying.
anyway, Gary Alexander, who did the column in the Woodstock Times, did a little research and wanted to get, the police side of the story and find out what the charges were, that he could say what he said. And when they contacted the state police office, they said, we have no record of the state police being at this person's house. So conveniently, they didn't have a record.
This is so important about public access television.
Yes.
If an event like this happened and your media was not reliable enough, or the police feared, so that they became the first stage of the media, that's called public relations, that's that third-party buffer, then think how precious public access is. I mean, how dangerous is what Steve just told us? Extremely dangerous, don't you think, Joe?
Yeah, of course, I think that.
mean-
And if it had been me, I would have made them arrest me. Then you would have had the police officer's name, because he would have had to have arrested you.
Yeah.
And you could sue them for false arrest. And that's what we need. We need you people out there to do two things. If they come, challenge them and don't back down.
Right.
The second thing we need all you people out there to do, even if they don't come to your house, start busting the chops of all these politicians saying, this is intrusion into our privacy. We have a right to the right to privacy, and these meters are spying on us. We have a right to be healthy, and these meters endanger our health. And you want to help what am I
Well, it's
missing?
life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Right.
And these meters, if they take away your health, they've taken away your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
And we need you people out there in television land to start pressing the politicians. Only when the people, enough people, put put heat on the politicians, do the politicians do anything? So if you call up your local politician and say, if you don't support this smart meter opt-out, we're not going to vote for you the next time you run.
Yeah.
And that's, that's the only thing the politicians understand.
Yeah.
I
One thing
think
I
you
wanted
could-
to say,
I
a
think
little
you could get
interesting
out of
thing
it even, so.
that happened, one of the interesting things that happened, one of the interesting things that happened was I went back there and I measured the house after they put the smart meter on.
Yeah.
And it should be under, as far as dirty electricity inside the house, it should be under 75. I'm not sure what the unit is, if it's Gauss or what. It's a microsurge meter that you plug in and it measures the amount, and it was supposed to be under 75. It was 600 in every room. And I think it was 800 in the bedroom where they were most vulnerable, which is where you're most vulnerable to microwave is when you're sleeping, because your brain goes into a different wavelength. And but anyway, I measured and I said, oh, by the way, this other meter I have, which is a high-frequency analyzer, well, I can measure your microwave. Since I'm measuring everything else, let me just tell you if your microwave is leaking. Okay, I was just doing an extra service for them. Yeah. And so I said, turn your microwave on. And I stood on one side of the room. They had a brand new microwave. And they were on the other side of the room with the microwave. And they turned it on. And first of all, the meter goes up to 2,000. It went off the scale. The microwave's not supposed to be leaking. I haven't measured any microwave anywhere that's not leaking, whether it be brand new or not. But that's not the unusual thing. The unusual thing was when we measured, a bolt of fire came out of the microwave from one side of the microwave inside itself to the other side and stayed there like this, flapping inside the microwave, and there was nothing in the microwave for it to cook. And I found out from Gary Alexander, he sent me the links, that these smart meters, whether it be one-way or two-way, destroy appliances. And so the husband, Kevin, said, oh, that's just a light inside the microwave. And his wife, Mio, said, no, that was fire. And I said, yeah, that's fire, man, look at it. So we shut it off, we opened up the microwave, and the whole inside of the microwave was burnt black on one side. It was fire. And they had that microwave there. I mean, it was pretty new, but it had never done that before till they put the smart meter on.
You can see how horrible it could be in the future if you don't pay your bills. And they have a smart meter on your house. I'll pay.
One of the things that I didn't know about smart meter is they destroy electronics. Everything will have to have a smart chip in it. They destroy electronics. I didn't know that. And Gary sent me about 6 links with articles on how they destroy appliances.
Probably sending surges through or something.
Yeah.
It's
just amazing.
So
by the way,
about police control or military occupation. But
An
again, there's
update-
remedies. I think there's
an update on some of the stuff that's going on is Thursday night at the Dutchess County Legislature is a meeting considering Dutchess County passing the opt-out legislation that we have here in Ulster County. And Dutchess County's with Joel Tyner spearheading the thing with the other 6 other members, I believe. And then Friday night at the New Paltz Library at 8 o'clock is Take Back Your Power screening. So just want everybody to know that.
I just kind of fear that the opt-out program might be like the licensing for marijuana, that they get you on another type of list and they keep an eye on you and torture you in other kinds of ways. Wow. And that it'll take a more sophisticated person to be in your camp. But to actually go through the steps that you've gone through, you've already lived off the grid, you've already experienced the worst of it. Yeah. It can only be better from here. And by the time you and others like you get back on the grid, you could, through this legal argument, purify the whole country. Because I heard, what did somebody say, $10 billion was just spent on smart meters?
Yeah.
Did he say 10 billion?
Yeah.
$10 billion to be used against you?
Our government
to spy on you, to hurt you? Yeah.
Our government gave the power companies $10 billion so that they can install these smart meters. Now that's your tax dollars being used to finance the power companies for all this stuff that they're doing. But while we're here, Steve, since this is being going to be played down in New York City, why don't you tell New York City what happened when you tried to get rid of the smart meter they put on your building? Tell them that story, because
Well-
they don't know that down
And
there.
Randy can tell hers.
Yeah, well, I evidently I had a smart meter on my house for at least a year and a half, and I had some physical issues that I didn't put much stock in. I'm kind of like, whatever it is, I'll just bust my way through it, you know, go forward no matter what happens. And I had, my knees were bothering me. My knees were bothering me. My neck was severe neck pain. I mean, I had neck pain that was like, I had to take ibuprofen every morning and every night for a year and a half. And that's about how long I lived in that house. When I moved in, that's when they just put the smart meter on. They had just put a new electrical service in. And I didn't notice, like I said, landlord's my friend. I didn't notice. Who notices what kind of meter? Who cares what kind of meter? Back before we knew anything about smart meters they were putting on the house. I didn't notice anything about it. And so I was living with these issues, and then I was there for about a year, and then Raji moved in a year later, and she started, as soon as she moved in, she started coming down with nausea, dizziness, vertigo, and headaches. And she's a health nut. She has been eating out of health food stores since she was in her 20s. And she's in her 50s now. And so she's very health conscious. And so when she was coming down with these symptoms, she was like very concerned. And I said, you know, maybe you need to go to a doctor. I don't know. Maybe now's the time. And she's, no, I don't want to go. But this, you know, she couldn't function. She'd have to lay down in the middle of the afternoon and just kind of like curl up and wait for it to go away. And finally, we were starting to get really concerned. This was going on for a while. We were visiting our friend, Gary Alexander, who was not doing so well health-wise, and he illuminated us to the fact that he was being affected by his neighbor's smart meter, and which was put on the house not long ago. And we knew nothing about this. So we went home after we heard about it. We didn't really believe it, but we just looked into it. And we found that smart meters causing all kinds of illness out on the West Coast, where they're everywhere. Smart meters are everywhere in the West Coast. Two-way smart meters. And we have one-way here in New York right at the moment. By the way, if the federal government has its way, there's a bill on the horizon called the Smart Grid Advancement Act of 2013 that will mandate two-way smart meters on every house, whether the governor likes it or not, in this state, or any state. And it's in committee right now. It was introduced by 2 Democrats. And can I put a plug for my website on here right now?
Yeah, go.
Go to Stop Smart Meters, WoodstockNY.com for all this information I've been telling you. There's a lot of information here.
Say it one more time.
StopSmartMetersNY.com.
I don't want to lose a thought on
No,
something you
I
said.
forgot. Wait a minute. Stop Smart Meters, WoodstockNY.com. I'm sorry. Stop Smart Meters,
I'll get it in editing.
WoodstockNY.com.
You were talking about two-way meters and one-way meters. I want to ask Joe a question. Now, I know you say you're not a computer person, but imagine that there's a device that has a lot of technology in it. It's a smart meter. It collects, right? So if it can go
Information.
2 ways, it seems as though they could just send some out, and then they can control it remotely to just send a signal to say, now go 2 ways.
Yes, they can do that.
Because if they're collecting the data, if they can get one piece of information, why not get all the information?
Exactly. I think they
so
can do
that
that.
that probably can be controlled remotely. So I think they're just once again trying to swindle New York by telling them, oh, you're going to have greater privilege here. You can opt out altogether, but I suspect then they'll collect information another way, or you can have a one-way. We're more sophisticated. We have one-way ones.
Just going back to that, I totally agree with you. I was concerned about that too. The thing was, so once we looked into it, we found out we did have a smart meter on our house. And we found out that it was our model was on GE's website as a smart meter, even though Central Hudson said it was not a smart meter. I called up General Electric, 3 different tech reps in the smart meter division confirmed that it was definitely a smart meter with an ERT module. And once we realized that, we sent them legal papers saying, take it off our house in 14 days, otherwise we're taking it off. So we waited 2 months. Raji, my girlfriend who's living in the house with me, ended up having a stroke, a mini stroke, standing 10 feet away from the smart meter. We found out there's a connection between strokes, heart attacks, and microwave. And once we realized, and she was now at high risk for the next 90 days for having a major stroke because she had the mini stroke. So once I realized that, I said, you know what, we got to take this off the house. We've waited 2 months now, and we have to take it off. So we took it off the house, and we replaced it with a brand new General Electric analog meter. And we videotaped the whole thing and sent the videotape to Central Hudson's CEO, Stephen Lands, and a video of the whole event, taking it off and putting it on, me never leaving the scene of the camera. They've seen exactly how I did it, which is exactly how it should be done. It's not very hard to do, folks. The hardest part was picking the lock. And anyway, I put it all in. The new analog meter, the dial was spinning. We had electricity. There's nothing sparking or anything like that. We had electricity for 4 days. We sent them the package with the digital meter, the video, and a 4th set of legal documents. We still got no response from Central Hudson, no telephone call. Hey, what's going on, valued customer? You know, what's happening here? What kind of problem do we have? Let's work it out. No talk, no nothing. Once we took the meter off, we had electricity for 4 days. Everything was fine, no problem. They came out 4 days later with a power company truck, elevated power company truck, and went up to the pole, cut our wires at the pole. They're still dangling there at the pole. 9 months ago, we've been without electricity for 9 months, and they don't care. They said they will move the pole to no, not the pole, that we have to move the pole to a different part of our property, which is only 1/3 of an acre. So wherever they put it on our property, we're going to be microwaved. And wherever you put it, it doesn't matter because it travels along your wires and goes inside your house circuitry.
One of the emails you forwarded to me said that this could be the birth of free energy devices, of which there's supposed to be 5,000 patents that are now kept in secret for reasons of national security. But I think we should consider whose security is that nation, and is it recognizing the Constitution?
National security is about taking care of the corporate profits.
Exactly.
It's not about taking care of the people, which national security should be about making sure that the people are secure, not the big corporations. And unless you people out there in television land, and I'm always pointing my finger at you, do something, you know? And we should break for a commercial.
Hi, we're your local high-speed internet and cable provider. Are you looking for a fast, reliable internet connection? A large selection of your favorite HD TV channels? With 24/7 access to the best customer support technicians? All at a fair price? Fuck you. You'll take what we give you. You'll have the option of choosing from several of our completely unwarranted rip-offs, including internet speeds up to 200 times slower than Korea at twice the price, TV packages with over 500 channels, 90% of which you can't view, and we guarantee a plethora of hidden fees. Then, our barely trained technicians will come to install your services somewhere between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Knock once while you're in the shower, and promptly leave. And once we do finally get your service up and running, it'll be down and limping within 3 hours. Indefinitely. Why, you ask? Simple. We are part of what is called an oligopoly. It's like a monopoly, only legal. See, in closed-door meetings with 4 or 5 of the other major providers, we've secretly agreed not to have differing prices. allowing us to completely eliminate any competition and collectively raise our prices to optimum cockbag levels. Because we here at your local high-speed internet and cable provider don't believe in customer satisfaction. We believe in money. Pools of money. Looking for a better deal? You can all gobble down our balls. You're paying for it. Your local high-speed internet and cable provider. You won't like it, and there's no other option.
Okay, and you can go and disconnect my cable line.
Hey, hang on. Is this what's going on here? I want to make sure no smart meters are going up. Okay.
No, it's not smart meters.
No?
We're playing
What's going on?
Cable again.
Oh, okay. Could I have your badge number? I'm worried about IP address discrimination. Could I please see your badge?
I only
don't want to touch
disconnect
it. Could
the
you
cable.
just,
I don't hook
Can you
them up.
just turn this over?
Why?
I want to know who you are.
I'm from Time Warner.
And you
Is
have
that
a
your
badge
apartment?
on you. No, I'm right next door.
All right, well, I didn't
And I'm
touch
very,
yours,
very concerned. All I want is your badge.
I don't have to show it to you. I didn't do
You
nothing
don't
to
have
your
to show it to
apartment.
me? You don't have to show it to me?
I didn't do nothing to
How
your
do I know
apartment.
who you are? How do I know you're not just somebody running around with the shirt that says Time Warner? That's all I'm asking. Okay, let me put it on camera. Thank you. Can I put it on camera?
No.
Why can't I put it on camera?
Why do you need my picture?
I don't know. I don't know. Now I really want to know why you don't want to show it. Now I'm going to have to see where you're going, where you've come from. Okay, now you're coming out in a car like this? And you won't show me your badge? Now I got it all now.
Hey, take my license.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Good night, Steve. Thank you, and we always love having you.
So where should we go? Oh, yeah, Randy. I wanted to hear your story about the smart meters. 'Cause
Okay,
you were
well,
very sophisticated.
I wanted to put out, before I do that quickly, a little bit of word that last Wednesday, Governor Cuomo signed a $1 billion bill to actually allow New York State residents to install photovoltaic cells, and it's $1 billion, and it's for 3,000 homes to be able to put up solar photovoltaics. So it's very important that people do that, because if there are digital meters that are forced on you, it's going to be that much easier, and you'll save that much money going off of the grid. What happened to me is actually kind of interesting. This was back in 2007 or 2008. I had just retrofitted every light fixture in my house with LED bulbs that were very beyond state of the art at the time, and my power bill dropped by a third. So all of a sudden, Central Hudson showed up in front of my house with a digital meter. I don't know if it was technically the smart meter, but it certainly was digital, and they wanted to swap out my meter. Now, I've always been very concerned mostly about systems like this being hacked, not by any representative of the company or even the government, but I've had an electronic stalker for many years, so I was very concerned about that. So when they came by in 2008, I really read them the Riot Act, and they weren't prepared for it. And they actually had in their Kingston office at that time, I don't think they have anymore, they actually had digital Central Hudson meters that were calibrated and ready to be reinstalled. So I tried telling them, I said, well, you're going to find out that the reason for my lesser power use is not because I'm rolling back the meter, which is, I think, what they thought, but because I just reinstalled every LED bulb in my house. And I also told them, I said, if you insist on giving me a digital snoop meter that people can hack, then I'll go off the power grid entirely and start generating my own power. And I told the town about that. They installed a new analog meter at the time, and it's been there ever since, knock on wood, and they haven't been back because at the time I read them the riot act about the Constitution and that I never, as a consumer, signed any consent to allow them to collect that information. But what it's also important to know and hasn't been mentioned here tonight is not only can these smart meters ruin your appliances, and there are ways to take care of that that are too technical for right now, but you can actually filter all of that out. But the important thing to know is that if you buy any what are called smart or green appliances now at your local appliance dealer, and they say that they're smart or they say that they're green, if they install a smart meter or even a digital meter, those appliances that you're buying now are designed with recognition systems so that the signal coming out of your digital power meter will actually turn on and off your electronics. That means your computer, that means your video system and your television and your radio, anything they want to deprive you of, they can selectively black out any appliance that you have. And that's what these digital meters allow them to do, beyond polluting and poisoning you.
And I would like to point out, Steve reminded me before he left that when Steve was talking about how sick his lady Raji was and how he had all these health problems when the meter was on his house, that after they took the smart meter off, all their health problems went away. So if that doesn't tell you people out there something, then
We're sad for you.
yeah, we feel bad for you if you allowed us. We don't, at this point, we don't have a smart meter on our house, but the way you can know, if you call the electric company, they'll tell you that it's not a smart meter because they have a little different technology in the meter than what the original smart meter was. But if it's digital, if you look and the numbers are digital, that's a smart meter. The old numbers used to roll, and then you had this thing that went around it had a black spot on it, and you could watch the wheel go around, and the black spot would come around, and the wheel would come around. That's the old meters. That's the meter you want to keep, right? That's the one you want to keep. And also, very many people who've had smart meters installed have noticed my electric bill went up because the smart meter uses electricity, and you're paying for that meter to use electricity, where the old meter just metered the electric that went through, that passed by it. Now the new meters actually need electricity to run and to produce a lot of microwaves. That's like if you ran your microwave 24 hours a day, you would run your bill up quite considerable. So that's what these meters are doing.
It's like carrying a ball and chain, huh?
Yeah,
to carry that load.
So it's not a smart meter that's going to save you money. If the company tries to tell you, oh, this is going to make your bills go down, don't believe it, because everybody that we've talked to that has had these meters has said their bills have gone up. And our government used your tax dollars to finance these meters, to give the electric companies the money to produce these meters, buy these meters, and put them on your house. And they can spy on you. Any electric appliance that you turn on, they know right there that you've turned it on. So, and for all you marijuana people out there that might think about growing a little marijuana at home, forget it. If you got a smart meter on your house, they're going to know right away that you have grow lights.
They're going to turn off your grow lights.
Yeah, right.
Right, they can, but more than likely, they'll just give information to the local police that there's grow lights at such and such an address, and then the police can come to that address, and that's a way of invading your privacy without a warrant. Normally, the police would have to have a warrant to come in your house. But if the smart meter, if the electric company says this person has grow lights, now the police can go to the courts and say, well, we know that that they have grow lights in this house, and we want a warrant. And then they get a warrant, and they come and they arrest you. And most of you people out there are going to think, well, they had a warrant, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you're not going to say, well, wait a minute. You didn't have a warrant to spy on me in the first place. So that makes the warrant no good. If they come in because they came in on a smart meter tip, then it's just like if a police officer comes up to your house and looks in your window and sees you smoking a marijuana joint or sees you doing anything that you shouldn't be, that according to them you shouldn't be doing, he then can't, if he goes and gets a warrant and he says, well, I looked in the window and I saw that they were growing or smoking,
He's still
that
not-
makes the warrant illegal.
He's still not a harmed party. So it's still, he really can't get a warrant. That's what's so unvorable.
Yeah, but
usually they don't have warrants.
That's a more complicated argument.
Yeah.
But the simple argument is, first of all, it's the fruit of a poison tree. They should never have looked in your window. They didn't have a warrant to look in your window. Therefore, that what they saw was obtained illegal. That makes the warrant illegal. So if they used a smart meter to get a warrant, the smart meter spied on you, and without a warrant for the smart meter, the warrant that they get with the smart meter is illegal. So just a little information for you. You want to take it away here?
What do you think, Randy?
Well, I think everything that Joe is saying is absolutely right. The reason why the smart meters will bill you more is what you're in effect doing when you allow them to install a smart meter is for them to install their private computer, their proprietary computer on your line, which then you're paying for. And there are very few things in normal gadgetry that eat up more power than a computer. If you, like you said before, left your computer on 24/7 and then had a transmitter associated with it, it's going to cost you a lot of money aside from irradiating you.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm wondering when you said that there's filters or there's ways out of that. I thought you're talking about technologically you can protect yourself.
Oh, yes,
Well,
but it is a kind of expensive. What you need to do ultimately for the more permanent protection is to have batteries that actually work as a filter, take the power that you're using down to DC, and then return it back into AC for your own use. The process of doing
Is that like rebooting?
well, it's kind of in an AC to DC to AC, it's filtering is really what it is. Because when the power then is DC, one of the pieces of equipment you can put on it is a DC low pass filter so that that will prevent any RF signals from either coming in or leaving your line. So if they do establish a digital meter and they put it on your line, yeah, it's still going to be irradiating you, and that's bad, but it's not going to be able to control any digital appliances. It's not going to be able to send signals through the wire to your smart equipment to shut it down, or any information about your usage other than the load.
Well, I was thinking you should be able to pinpoint the power of the pulse so that it doesn't harm people. but also it's the privacy. So I'm wondering if hacking, a lot of the viruses that are sent around are manipulating those types of filters.
Oh, it's completely susceptible to that. Everything is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we only have a minute left. Any last thoughts before we sign off? Maybe less.
Well, one more thing is if you got a smart meter on your house and you got a computer, there's good chances you're going to start having problems with your computer.
Oh, that's motivation enough. Well, this is Paula Gloria, and this has been an episode Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. Bye.
Okay, continue recording it then. I'm sorry.
Oh, recording what? Recording us?
Okay.
Oh, coming back to what? I didn't
Well,
know.
we're still on Woodstock Television, even
Right.
though we finished the show for New York. So
Oh, okay.
go ahead.
Right, so you can
Take it
go
away,
for another
Paula.
5
I
minutes.
didn't realize that we have
Switch to
5 more
Paula.
minutes.
Yeah.
Shot to Paula.
Oh, okay, well, since we have this extra 5 minutes, I would be interested in knowing if we could dialogue a little bit about these filters, because I think that every time there's some new technology, like it's probably some type of software program, right? Well, that software program has a patent to it, so whoever bought that patent then has the copyright on that, and he would be the one to say, if you're going to use this hardware or this software along with it, I own the copyright on that software. Therefore, from that ownership of copyright, they can determine whether those filters go on or off. The filters, the first time I heard that.
Well,
name.
the sort of filters I'm talking about are very standard in electronics. They're very standard in high voltage installations. And once you buy them from a company that distributes stuff like that, like Grainger, big catalog company, that distributes professional industrial grade components and whatever, that's something that you can use without violating a copyright. I'm sure that's going to make the power company and the people who want to promote the smart grid and the Snoop grid and the spy on you grid very upset, but that's the thing that I believe firmly has kept an electronic meter on my house, is that the power company knows that if they try to do this with me, all they're going to do is cause themselves to lose a customer. And my account, I've always kept very current, so I'm a paying customer. So since they know that I'm unlike a lot of other people out there and have the means and the resources and the knowledge to tell them to screw their power, I'll get it myself if I need to, then they don't mess with me, because they'd rather have me paying a nominal bill to them than to lose me as a customer, because that's revenue.
I don't know. I think it's more of a numbers game. I think actually when you're a customer, you're only a corporation. And I think with the numbers game, they figure so few people are as insightful and as experienced and as ballsy as you are to confront them. So they would rather just let go of that account. I don't think they really care. But you now, as somebody who has rights violated with all of your knowledge and your confidence and ability to have standing in your community. In other words, be able to take this message down to the lowest common denominator, and by lowest common denominator, I mean the greatest power. Because the power that, even in the kings of India and the caste system, they recognize that each depends on the activities of the other. So the king serves the people. So when we're talking about the sovereign people, you really can say the sovereign people. So when the people are so profoundly harmed as they are today, because you have to steal and be deceptive in your language and your understandings.
You know what the key is? The key is, and you didn't mention it there, I wouldn't have interrupted you, you have to unfortunately be intimidating. You have to act like you're going to figuratively jump over the counter and strangle them. You have to come off, and this is why
But you
I
can't
appreciate...
do that now. They've got security. I mean, that is a healthy reaction.
Well, that's only
now
combined
they
with
go, yeah,
that's
and-
only combined with the knowledge that you have to have in order to make your threat of coming over the thing and strangling them, you don't say it. You don't say, I'm going to strangle you. You just give them the look. And if you and one of the things that's very important whenever you're in a confrontational situation, whether it's with a state police who doesn't have a warrant to be there or anybody else, what shows ultimate confidence is if you have the ability.
This is piercing the corporate veil. There's no other way to do it. This is not something that some great law firm will do. No, that great law firm is set up to make sure that the corporate veil is not pierced. You see what I mean? And the more issues with, if they really, really felt they had a case to pierce the corporate veil, boom, they'd be out of work. No more veils, because the argument is going to be the same for all of the corporations. So that means at that point, all the corporations actually have to start following their mission statement. They all have great mission statements, but then they have all of the legal contracts. What was that, the judge we were watching today, Joe, about the syntax? He was saying that in a typical mortgage contract, they have these syntactical errors.
We have to
and they're
wrap up
void.
now. We're over time.
Oh, okay.
We'll do
Okay.
a show on that.
Right.
Okay.
Next
Bye.
week. Bye.